Thirdly, I want to make sure that anybody who is getting unsolicited texts or emails, telephone calls from people who are offering coronavirus vaccines or other medications to address coronavirus tests, please know those are probably exclusively scams, okay? So we don't want people to be taken advantage of. No price gouging. We want to make sure workers are protected with sick leave opportunity, and we want to make sure that there aren't scammers out there operating. Unfortunately, in a time of crisis, that's when we see, unfortunately, people looking to exploit and take advantage of the situation. With respect to public health issues, I encourage the public to continue to follow what the CDC is saying, as well as the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. I know that with respect to testing, there are a lack of tests and test kits out there. I certainly want to make sure that the federal government step up its effort right now and lead by doing everything it can to make testing available to the public, making sure that those who are in need of it most have access to those tests most immediately. But we'll continue to monitor the situation. Please call my office. I have a hotline up and ready to go. We've gotten reports about people who have had trips, they've had to cancel trips, and there are questions about refunds and cancellation policies. Please call my office. We'll see if we can work with you on sorting through some of those issues. Also, I know there are a lot of students, some of whom are still overseas on programs, others of whom are not going to be returning to campus after spring break. I encourage you to work directly with your institution of higher learning on that. I know there'll be press conferences this afternoon from some institutions about that, but continue to use us as a resource and know that we're going to continue to work with in partnership with all of our partners here in Massachusetts.
For the earned sick time, what does that mean, that law? What does it mean for the worker who's sitting at home going, I don't want to stay home because I can't do this?
Well, first of all, I would just say that if you do not feel well, do not go to work and put others at risk. But with respect to earned sick time, there's a law here in Massachusetts. Every worker is entitled to earn up to 40 hours per year of sick time. So look to your employment policy, see what's available, and I'm just encouraging a spirit of collaboration and cooperation right now. That's what we need to make sure that workers are protected in this time. And I'd also say with respect to schools, this is a challenging time for schools right now. We want to make sure that kids and parents are protected, and that schools are going through a careful process right now of making sure that things happen in a way that makes sense. But earned sick time up to 40 hours a year. You can call my office if you're an employee with questions about that. But I just encourage collaboration between the employment community and the business community and others on how we navigate this time.
Are you concerned that kind of puts people in a tough spot? It's nice that there is the 40 hours, but a lot of people are having quarantine for 2 weeks, so you don't really get all the way there with this.
No, exactly, which is why I speak about collaboration, both from the employer side and the greater business community, and perhaps ultimately from government too, because we've got to find a way to work through this, and it is a challenge given potential links of quarantine and the like.
What is the nature of the complaints that your office is getting now with regard to price gouging, and how are you kind of handling that?
Well, we are getting some complaints about concerns about price gouging and lack of availability of resources. We're going to continue to review those. That's why I encourage the public to report those to my office. We've received complaints about efforts to scam. As I mentioned, there are people who are out there looking to exploit and prey on this crisis, and so they'll call up or email with coronavirus cures and the like, or tests and the like. These are scams, so don't be fooled. And we're receiving some questions about sick time and what do I do if I'm an employee and my child has been told they can't go to school and I can't afford to not go to work. And so we talk with people about earned sick time. Again, I think that this is a very fluid and evolving situation, and I think we need to work collaboratively with one another here in Massachusetts while we collectively demand action from the president and the federal government in terms of making more tests available and making just bringing some semblance of greater order to the situation nationally.
What kind of rights do people have if their employer says you've got to use your PTO, whether you're in quarantine or not, and you're being told by medical people to stay home? Do you have to, or are there other options?
Well, I think, look, if you're sick, you need to take care of yourself first, and I don't encourage anybody to go to work if you're sick. But what I would say is that it really depends on the situation, which is exactly why people should call my office, call my Fair Labor hotline. I've got my consumer hotline up. We're ready to take questions, and we can work through those issues.
What resources are available for parents or students that, for example, Harvard are told not to come to class and that could happen for the next 2 months? Is there tuition reimbursement?
You know, again, this is all happening very quickly and evolving very quickly. I know that there'll be a press conference on that later today. I encourage people to, one, pay attention to what our Mass Department of Public Health is issuing in terms of information, as well as the CDC on issues of public health. And two, with respect to a college or a school, whether we're talking about high school or college, know that we will continue to take reports of issues that have come up around off-campus learning, around school trips abroad, but really first course, you know, make sure you're talking to that institution as they're thinking through what needs to happen.
What do you tell your own staff about what the process is going to be if, for example, because school closes, they need to have a 14-day self-quarantine? What are you doing for them?
Well, two things. One, I want people who I work with to be safe, and I want their families to be safe. And so, you know, I made it clear 3 weeks ago, actually, we took steps to make our office virtual. We knew we may need to move to a virtual scenario. And so that's important because the Attorney General's office needs to stay open, needs to stay functioning for the people of the Commonwealth. So that is in place, and then we just have to play it day by day. I've been clear to my team that, you know, it's inevitable that there will be school closures. We've seen some already, and parents need to do what they need to do, and we'll make sure that they are taken care of during this time.
Also, just on the issue of like travel reimbursement, it sounds like typically under a normal situation, people would not be reimbursed if they don't feel like flying or if they bought a trip to Italy in February,
Right.
or in January. Are you just like collecting the information, asking people to stand by, or are you giving them concrete kind of thing?
Both. We're certainly collecting the information because I want to know what the issues are out there, and then we're taking steps. Sometimes we can mediate that situation and get somebody a reimbursement, and sometimes, you know, we may not be able to, but give us the information so that then we're in a position to try to take action to try to help somebody in this situation. Obviously, it's a pretty unique situation, and, you know, there's contract law that applies and other things, but call my office. Let us see if we can work to help on things like cancellations and refunds. Already you've seen some businesses come forward and just be clear that they're going to allow for certain cancellations and refunds. It's an evolving situation. And I just encourage people to just take care of themselves. All of the information that the CDC and the Department of Public Health are putting out about ways to take care of yourself and your family is important, and continue to pay attention to that.
Have you gotten any reports about specific scams? Because we saw in New York, for example, there's that preacher who's selling this vaccine, so to speak. Have you gotten?
We have. We've received dozens of complaints already about concerns about price gouging and concerns about scams related to cures and vaccines and tests for coronavirus. So I just encourage people, you know, as always, scammers love to operate by sending you unsolicited texts, phone calls, emails, and the like. So just shut that down.
Thank you.
Can I just one
last
question on
question.
the travel thing? You know, clearly businesses are hurting. The cruise industry is really hurting. Do they still have a responsibility to make tourists?
It just depends. It just depends on the contract. It just depends on each particular situation. But obviously we've seen the hit to the market, and you know, it's so tough for businesses. We've got conventions that are, you know, have been canceled here in Boston, and we're just going to see more and more of that. The ripple effects of this are not insignificant, which is why I call on everyone to work collaboratively with one another in helping to support getting through this time.